Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
What's the creepiest encounter you've ever had with someone?
There used to be a chick who'd hang around in a little field near where me and my mom live and watch the house every day. I'd look out of my window at night and she'd be there smoking a cigarette just watching. She had an obsession with my mom and started dressing like her and was seen walking past where my mom works as well as her partner's house. Harassed her online all the time too. She had the cops called on her a bunch of times and eventually stopped. I hope she's doing okay, poor thing.
Be me. Teenager but adult. Need to stay at a hotel. Choose the cheapest $35 room in a bad part of town because I'm a stupid teenager. Get there around 11 p.m. It's weird, run down. Half the lights in the hallway are flickering or out. Bring in first bit of luggage and go back to my car. Coming back up to the room with last bag of luggage. Tall skinny guy with a broken foot and a boot and a single crutch gets in the elevator. My deep reptile brain says something's wrong with him. Decide he's just drunk and weird looking. He keeps trying to make conversation like we're old friends. My brain keeps sounding an alarm that something is wrong with him, even though he just looks like a normal guy with a broken foot. Get out on my floor. After 20 or 30 feet I hear crutches. He also got out on this floor, even though he pressed the button for a different floor when he got in the elevator. Maybe he just pressed the wrong button, and this really is his floor. He's crutching after me and trying to continue our conversation. I turn and see him, this lanky guy with a bizarre and inscrutable face hobbling down the corridor behind me, half hidden by the broken and flickering lights. The image fills me with a deep, primal fear. Know down to my bones that if I don't get in my room fast enough, he will use the crutch to jam the door open and force his way in. Give up any pretense of politeness, stop talking and start running to my room. He picks up the crutch and starts running. I nearly drop the room key panicking, but manage to get in and slam the door shut with him within 10 feet of me. Flip the extra toggle lock thing closed. I'm basically sobbing and trembling and fall down against the door. Total silence outside. I call the front desk, but I just sound like a crazy person or a prank call and they hang up. No, the police will probably do the same, plus scaring me isn't a crime. Finally think to check the peephole. He's gone. Spend the night dry heaving and staring at the door anyway. Get out as soon as the sun is up.
Driving down spooky swampy county road with wife around midnight. We love creeping each other out at night. Road is called the Bottoms because it's the lowest point in the area and often floods. Water is right up against the road. Drive around corner and see 2 police vehicles. 1 cruiser and 1 big Suburban. 2 cops, 1 male and 1 female. Standing outside the vehicles by the water staring at us as we drive by. They look at each other and scramble. I start going a little faster. I was already like 15 miles under the speed limit, rather than keep going to where the road dead ends. I pull into a spot on the side of the road and turn around, as I start heading back the way we came. The cruiser comes around the corner, but I squeeze past it and hit the exact speed limit all the way past the spot where the Suburban cop still sat. I feel like they didn't want us to know what they were doing out there. The Suburban wasn't local. It had the name of a town more than an hour from here. Also should mention there have been a lot of corpses found out there in recent years. 1 guy was found hanging from a tree like 40 feet off the road. Over the water.
I was helping a friend move from New York, getting out of the army, to Oregon, his home state. Skip to the tail end of the journey, we've just crossed the border into Oregon. Get to a town named Burns, hope on Highway 20 to get to Bend. It's about 10 p.m. when we hit Burns, and it's 2 hours to Bend. We're in a U-Haul with a trailer, his car, so we aren't really making any speed records. The thing about Highway 20 in Oregon is there's really only 2 roads that lead off it, so once you're on, you either finish what you started or turn around if you can. There's no signal at all. We get onto this highway, and maybe about 20 minutes past Burns a car appears behind us. Wasn't behind us before that we knew, just was there. High beams on, riding our ass the whole way. Now where I live, that's pretty typical of farmers and locals, but they will pass given enough time. This guy was behind us all the way to Riley. I was in the passenger seat with my shotgun. I didn't own a pistol at the time and was all I had, and I told my buddy when we got into Riley to do the see if he's following us bit where we take a random series of turns. He was in fact following us. Ended up getting back onto the highway, there were patches of signal, and the guy was still riding RS following us. Tried to call 911 but the signal kept dropping. He only followed for another 15 to 20 minutes past Riley before he pulled off onto the highway and killed his headlights. We kept driving till we got to the rest stop along the road where a bunch of people were.
Met up with a friend one night for some drinks. After drinks, walking home alone with some takeaway food in my hand. It was late. Across the road in the distance I see two men having a conversation. As I get close to them, one of them walks away. Other guy across the road wearing a purple shirt notices me and starts yelling at me. I turned around and looked at him. I waited and indicated that I wanted to know what he wanted to say to me. Then he kept yelling the same phrase over and over.
Come here, I'm telling you.
I didn't want to walk up to him. I had no idea who he was. After a little while I noticed he wasn't going to come towards me and speak to me like a normal person. So I started walking away. He continued to yell at me.
Come here, I'm telling you.
He just yelled this one phrase at me, over and over and over again. I started walking quicker down a dark alleyway. He starts walking towards me, continuing to yell the same phrase.
Come here, I'm telling you.
He crossed the road and reached the beginning of this dark alleyway. He then stops walking but continues to yell at me. He just stops moving like he can't step into the shadows. After the guy was totally out of my vision, I could still hear him yell the same phrase in the distance.
Come here, I'm telling you.
In middle school, always see weird kid doing weird things in my class. We'll call him John. Always been a bit of an outcast too, so I become friends with John pretty quickly. Was really into Legos, Star Wars, Halo like I was, so it was cash money. End up hanging out a few times, meet his parents. Batshit crazy, as in, Harry Potter is evil witchcraft. After a while decide this kid is too odd to keep hanging out with. John's really perverted and freaks all my friends out. Cut him off, was never mean but just stopped hanging out and talking with him. Fast forward to high school. Dude is making cardboard Bionicle-esque masks and sprinting through the halls with them. Recording and uploading his adventures as he goes. Really spurgy but very fun to watch while going to class. Sophomore or junior year now, John hasn't changed a bit. Due to his mannerisms, no one really wants John around. He eats in the bathrooms and at this point is just a school weirdo. Then one day, friends all run up to me at lunch and on, did you hear what John did? Nope. PDF. John had taken his safety scissors in class and started trying to cut his lips open like Jeff the Killer. Didn't do a great job but certainly hurt himself. Picture of it flew around the school before getting banned. Was just laughing maniacally until he was removed. Don't know where he went, likely a ward for some time. School admins later find mini manifesto and hit list. Turns out John had a big plan that involved killing quite a few students, starting with the principal. Several of my friends were on that list. I see him 2 years later at college orientation. He still recognizes me. 2020 would have been his college grad year if he was on track. He was always a legitimately smart guy, so I hope he can use his degree well. Don't want anything to do with a guy that allegedly wanted some of my good friends dead, though.
Our old house was on a corner, and in lieu of a backyard had a side yard, with a small deck that wrapped around the back. The dining room had patio doors that lead out to the back, and we would have BBQs and such back there. When I was about 14, we only had one desktop computer and one laptop for the family. My brother and I would fight over the desktop. That's where Diablo 2 was installed, so I would use the laptop to write music. On one particular night, my brother had a friend over and they were downstairs doing whatever and I was at the dining room table on the laptop. As I was wrapped up in my writing, I didn't pay much attention to my surroundings. I heard a knock on the patio door, which startled me. I looked up, expecting my brother or his friend. The basement had a door that led to the back deck as well. Standing at the door, and waving, was a person, could not tell sex or age, wearing a Halloween pig mask and nothing else. Thinking it was my brother or his friend, I mouthed, "Good one," and gave the person the finger and they walked away. As soon as they left, I went downstairs to give them shit, and to my surprise and dismay, they were both sitting on the couch playing PlayStation. They swore up and down it wasn't either of them, and there was no way one of them would have had time to get downstairs and unmask before getting on the couch. To this day, I have no idea who it was that knocked and waved.
Be me, age 9 or 10. Parents divorced since I was 3. staying with my dad at weekend. His house was at least 5 miles from any real town or city. Land was quite large, but he didn't own much of it, played on it nevertheless. Large forested area behind house, which the window in my room was facing. Looking through photo album my dad had, mostly family photos, birthdays, Christmases, etc. Towards the end, the pictures are of the house, taken from the back of the house, each one closer than the one before. Several are of me playing in the forest. One clearly taken from behind a tree no more than 50 meters away from where I was. Wasn't too fussed, since I assumed it was my dad. Asked him why he took them, because they were different to the rest of the pictures. He seemed bewildered, and began flicking through. I realized I hadn't looked through all of them, but he was nearing towards the final pages, the ones I hadn't seen. Noticed color drain from his face on the penultimate page. Clearly nervous about turning the page. Finally does. And I notice him shiver. Closes album and packs a bag for me and him. We leave the house and only returned a few times before putting it up for sale. Reported it to the police, but there was little they could do. Skip like 5 years. Ask him what was on the final pages. He is clearly distressed. And he sits me down. Tells me that they were of me asleep, taken directly by my bedside. But the last picture was a picture of my window, taken from inside my room. Apparently, several people were stood outside my room with masks on, looking directly at the camera. I still don't understand why I didn't wake up whilst the person was in my room, since I am usually a light sleeper. But I wasn't able to sleep well for the next few months without making sure the window was locked and the curtains were drawn.
Be 11. Be a second mom for my little brothers since I'm the oldest. Grandfather popped out of the blue one day. Parents tell us that Gramps gonna start living with us from now on. Can tell something weird is going on, considering he came all the way from Spain. Think nothing of it at the end. We loved having a Bulo over after all. Be a few weeks after Gramps moved in. Mom's working at convenience store and Dad is working at an auto shop. I'm showing Gramps that I can cook well now. Hear the doorbell ring. Who is it?
I'm here to deliver these car parts. Please sign.
Usual stuff. We get parts delivered every few days. Hey Gramps, can you get that? I need to call Dad to let him know. I go get the phone. Then I hear a thump. Gramps had this fat dude on the floor, was kicking his ass. Dude has his pants down to his legs. He's obviously not a delivery man. Police arrive to take him in. Parents get home too. Fat dude was a registered Minecraft offender. He waited for the day when neither of my parents' cars were in the driveway. He was holding his with one hand and was holding a small box with the other. He was planning to attack when I opened the door, but my Gramps opened instead. Dude tried to run. Gramps caught on and beat him down. My parents seen him around patrolling around here before. He done that to a teenage girl before. That's why Gramps came over to stay. They didn't tell me before because it was something a little girl shouldn't know about.
I once mentioned how the moon isn't what we think it is to a buddy in a Walmart, and was followed by a 6'5" dude the rest of the time I was in there. I am 5'10", so I confronted him, and had a rather creepy exchange. Approached calmly and asked why he was tailing. Blank stare. His eyes were dark green and moving up and down rapidly. Was wearing a blazer. Sweat-stained shirt underneath. No signs he was on any drugs aside from movement, no dilation. Very threatening body language when he finally started moving and speaking. Super low voice. Almost monotone.
It is nothing. I apologize. I work here.
Where's your vest? Did not like the quick reply at all. Raises voice.
Sir, this is the second time I've had to ask you to be silent.
I had no idea what he was referring to, so I chuckled and walked off. Told him to take it easy. Continue shopping, thinking about baiting him into something. I had just gotten out the gym and was already having a bad day and wanted some trouble. Decide to look for him. I knew he was lying. Found him in the fabric section. Flicked a penny at him while standing behind the product wall. Get him in the ear. Fast walk away as he literally roars. He runs out the aisle. The one opposite of the one I was. Looks around like an oafish animal. Practically waddles in a huff to the fishing area. Finish shopping and leave. Pretty sure he was possessed or a reptilian. The dude was wild.
Be me and my best friend, 12 or 13 years old. Ride bikes all the time in our nice suburban town. Nice day, Early spring, go for a bike ride and end up in a neighborhood a few miles away. Turn down a street into a slightly older subdivision and immediately hear people yelling at us and trying to call us over. Start to check it out, then we both look at each other at the same time with a bad feeling. Turn around and head back. Couple minutes later, a big loud truck chases us down. Driver looks like white trash, a guy in his 20s with a mop of red hat and a furious look of pure hatred. Can't remember for sure, but it almost seems like his eyes are pure black. Snarls at us and says he's going to kill us. WTF. Take off fleeing for our lives, riding as fast as we can on our bikes. Taking shortcuts across the golf course where he can't follow us, doubling back through the maze of neighborhoods while trying to make our way home. Keep hearing his loud-ass truck here and there for the next hour as we hide and flee, so we know he's still driving around looking for us for a long time. Finally make it home, tell Dad, who is pissed and drives off looking for this asshole. Never finds him. Over the next few weeks I think I keep hearing that truck driving around. Even think I see it drive by my house a few times. Never saw him again. Still have no clue what the hell that was about.
At a house party some rich old boomer is throwing. A little skeletal guy is there, acting as boomer's assistant. He looks old and young at the same time. Wearing all black clothes, long black coat, big black hat. That kind of thing. Walks up out of the lake like that's just how he gets from place to place. No one even notices. Ask some people about him. Apparently he helps out from time to time if they can manage to contact him. Kids insist on calling him Magic. And apparently older people cry when he sings. Ended up talking to him just to see what his deal was. He whispers and only gave single-word responses. Never ate or drank at any time. Then when there was less people around and the sun went down, he had this weird change come over him. Standing up straighter, eyes more open. Speaking clearly to some old lady. Guy's voice is nothing like I've ever heard. It's huge and soft and deep. I don't even remember what he said, only the sound and that he had a strong accent I couldn't place. Time comes for everyone to go home. He walks into the woods and that's that. I think I met either a vampire or an angel.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.